First and foremost, SpinTV, I want to say happy Memorial Day weekend to everybody out there. Thank you to everybody who has served or is serving in our military. I know we have a lot of veterans and armed forces members playing disc golf, so thank you guys so much for keeping us safe out there. Hopefully I can bring you guys a little bit of entertainment because I was at a great event over this past weekend, the inaugural St. Jude Disc Golf Charity Invitational. At Bayonet Black Horse Golf Course in Seaside, California, we raised over $200,000 for the St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. Disc golf community really came together for a great cause, and we've got a great tournament. We're playing on a par 63, 10,500 foot layout designed by Jussi Meresmaa, and we've got some of the game's best. We've got Will Schusterick shooting a 6 under par in the first round, a 1067 rated round. This course, even par, was way over 1,000 rated. In fact, 5 over would give you an even 4-digit rating on that first day. Trailing him by 3 strokes is Ulibarri sitting at 3 under par. Right on his heels, Stevie Rico, Nate Doss, 2 under par, 4 back, huge layout. You got just me today, so I'm gonna do a double dose of talking and give you guys some opinions and insight into this course, into these players, and let's get started. We've got some great action. Let's go to hole 1. Now, I know sometimes we go to disc golf courses and we see the first hole and it's a little 200-foot straight ahead warm-up hole that you can kind of get your bearings. Not here, not at this level. Hole 1 is 886 feet. It's a par 4. We've got cart path and all bunkers are going to be OB. Pretty standard golf course layout. And you're throwing slightly downhill on this beautifully manicured lawn. So here we've got Will Schusterick. He's going to throw a little bit low. And you can see the tee's a little bit elevated from the fairway, which really makes you have to play the height control game. You've got to get the release angle and the launch angle correct, and in order to get the right kind of distance. Ulibarri is going to go a little bit over on the right side. It's a tough pin to access. As you can see, there's a bunker guarding it in the fairway, and most of these players actually want to try to play to the left. But they're also, with the being at final round and there's only 2 rounds to this tournament, they're trying to get up the fairway a little bit. Nate gets a little cut roll. That's not how he wanted to start the tournament, but he is safe. He'll drop right there. And the cameraman decided to bogey early on, and we missed Steve Rico's drive off the first tee, so apologies to Stevie. We'll go right to Nate's upshot, which he kind of kicks over the same disc. Doesn't get the stability out of it that he thinks he has, and Steve Rico with a great drive. And that's a go-for shot. He's trying to get all the distance. Again, 886 feet to the pin. Even for these guys, it's going to be 2 full rips to try to get a look at birdie. And there have not been many birdies on this hole all weekend. Schusterick lining up the forehand. You don't see a whole lot of forehands out of Will Schusterick, primarily a backhand player. But he's going to get a little bit closer to the pin. Still a little ways out, though. Here's a little bit of a tougher line. You don't want to be on the right side of this fairway because it's going to force a tough angle with a natural righty backhand feeding back to the left towards that OB bunker. And Uli gets a little bit of probably a good stop off that tree. He was headed pretty far right. Nate Doss's third shot. Needs to sit. Stays clean of the bunker. That's still a tester putt. Schusterick with a nice pitch. Showing very nice form on how to throw one of those tiny little putter flex shots. Just kind of pitch it up there. Ulibarri will do the same. And Nate Doss. Not a good attempt. Nate Doss is traditionally a much better putter than that, and kind of off to a rocky start on this first hole. He kind of knows it, laughing it off, and plenty more golf to play. Great putt by Steve Rico to take a 4 on that hole. These should be some easy tap-ins, and we're already 900 feet down this course at this 10,500 foot layout. Schusterick, Ulibarri, and Rico will all par, and Nate will tap in the bogey. Hole 2. So 381 feet. It's a par 3, very easily reachable by all of these guys at their level, and this will be a little bit different. Instead of playing on the grass in this one, you're going to switch the playing surface, so you have to watch how that affects the skip of the disc and how it finishes. And Will Schusterick will retain the box. Opting for the outside hyzer route, skipping around left, beautifully executed right there. That should be no problem for him to knock in that birdie. Paul Ulibarri next on the tee. Also opting for a little bit of a flex route. And you can see that even in the trees here, you can see that wind on the top of that flag. It's still going left to right. So you have to be careful on how you release that. You don't want to expose the underside of that disc to that wind going crosswind as a right-hand backhanded player, or you could be over the cart path, which is OB. Steve Rico leaves it a little bit low. Was trying to throw it straight up the gut. As you can see on this fairway, there are 3 different routes. Nate's going to opt for the wider one, and it's a little bit too wide. Tough start for Nate. Tough start, and see what he can do. Try to get up and down and not lose another stroke on the second hole. And there's the flex shot he was trying to throw off the tee. Beautifully done, and that should leave about a 20-22 footer. Rico looking at trying to run the long birdie. Hits the tree, and Nate Doss for par. Beautiful center chain, easily done. Great headwind putt right there. Steve Rico will put his 3 solid, playing on DGA Mach X baskets and Disc Golf Park tee pads. The proprietary turf tee pads, you'll notice, are part of the Disc Golf Park design. 2 of the major sponsors of this tournament, DGA and Disc Golf Park, both donated an entire course, and they did a little cross switching. So the Disc Golf Park baskets are on the amateur course with the DGA tee pads, and then the Disc Golf Park tee pads with the DGA baskets on the pro course. So if you see kind of the 2 companies matched up like that, that's why. And hole 3, it's going to be 361 feet. This is another one where you really want to go for it. It's a little bit more open, so the wind has a little bit more of an effect. There will be, from the camera side to the right side of the basket, the cart path can come into play if you overskip, throw too hot, and you'll see that large area. Will Schusterick challenges that bunker that's right behind it, but that's a great shot. And you'll see the large area with chips that's just short of the basket. That's actually the stump of a tree, or the remnants of what used to be a tree. It does play out of bounds, but it does typically let you skip through it. So that shouldn't be too much of an issue for these guys. 361 feet is well within their range. Even though they are throwing a little bit uphill, it's going to play closer to the 390, 400 range in terms of power. And you can see with the flag blowing and trying to prevent the righty backhand from hyzering in, trying to get it to finish in a crosswind is a little bit of a tougher challenge, and Nate doesn't quite get the skip, and he's going to land in that OB circle and have to mark before. So putting for 3, a penalty 3 right here. And kind of sensed that a little bit timid on that putt, didn't quite give it the height that it needed, and Nate's off to an uncharacteristically slow start on this hole, but there's a lot of guys that we've seen over the weekend that start hot, and it's tough to maintain. This is not a easy course. This is not a course that you can really push and dominate. You have to kind of take it as it comes. You have to play a lot of golf. This is the way that courses need to be in the future for these top pros. They're so good at just destroying every single layout that we've created with the kind of older mentality of disc golf courses, that when you force a golf style mentality and a 6 down as the hot round, the course is playing pretty tough. So we'll have on hole 3, Will, Ulibarri, and Rico will all birdie, and Nate will take a penalty 4. Going on to hole 4, big dog leg left, 866 foot par 4, elevated tee OB in all the bunkers and across the cart path. And this is one of the few holes that's going to play out here as a re-tee. If any of the players throw out of bounds on this hole, they will have to re-tee, which is a tough proposition considering the wind. And Will looks like he just gets the corner, playing out wide. Nice, safe shot. And Paul Ulibarri is going to go for it a little more here. You can see he's throwing a little bit more of an overstable disc, looking for that skip, and that's a fantastic shot right there. Steve Rico going for a little more of a low line, trying to get a little more distance up the fairway. And another great shot, not too far from where Schusterick is. And let's see if Nate Doss can get something going here. Oh, just like hole 1, he takes that sort of sherbet orange colored disc and just overturning it a little bit. The wind today on the Sunday round is a lot calmer than it was on Saturday. So with these guys only getting to play 2 rounds for this entire tournament, you've got to think then the course was only open for practice 1 day before the event. And Nate's getting a little advice from his caddy.
It's a long ways. Over 400, right? Yeah. You're not gonna
Trying to play it safe between the 2 layers of bunkers. Looking for a little bit of skip on the short grass. He gets it.
nice shot.
And from that lie underneath those trees, that's about as good as you can do right there. Great shot by Nate. The leader, Will Schusterick. Looking for the aggressive line, looking to try to secure a 3 on this hole, which will definitely get you strokes on most of the field. This is not a very easy hole to birdie because of the tricky pin placement, and you'll see that as kind of a feature of this whole course. Very tough pin placements, requiring both good drives and very technical upshots. After a chat with his caddy, Steve Rico lays the towel down, sends a bomb out there going for it, and gets it over the second layer of bunkers. That's a great shot. And Paul Ulibarri getting the corner, the closest to the pin of the group, sending the hyzer out, needing it to drop. And that should be no problem. Inside the circle for sure. Nate Doss with a long 3 look. Good height. Just off the cage. He's starting to dial it in. You can see him shaking his head, starting to figure it out, getting to a little bit of a rhythm now. It doesn't take these guys very long to correct their mistakes. Schusterick for 3. Ooh, and he's going to get a roll away on that one. As you can see, got a little bit of a roll. He's looking at this to save par. Beautiful putt. And Schusterick, who a lot of people, most famously remember him needing 3 tries to put Macbeth away at the USDGC last year. You can really tell he's a player that when his putting stroke is on and it's really smooth, you can tell he looks relaxed and they just sinks him easily. And then sometimes, like at USDGC, he can kind of get in a little bit of a hitch, but he's having absolutely no problems this weekend. The putter is working great, and he's feeling in control right now, very smooth. Going on to hole number 5. Hole 5, 344 feet, par 3, actually throwing a little bit downhill here. And tough for the righty backhand, as there's an OB bunker guarding the pin, and a large tree to the left side of the pin if you're trying to take the forehand route or the lefty backhand route. Both routes are available and legitimate fairways. Most of these guys are going to opt for the right-handed backhanded hyzer. The key here in this wind is to make sure that you're high enough to get over the bunker and not crash into it. As you can see, Paul Ulibarri right there, a little bit too sharp on the angle, but at the same time, you don't want too little of an angle for it to skip away from the pin. So this is a very technical shot at 344 feet. Rico almost acing the basket right there. It looks like it went right through it. Beautiful shot. Schuster taking a little bit of a high inside line there. That's going to end up more left than he wants it. And Nate Doss trying to get going, holding up the back of the box at the moment. A little bit lower of a line. Solid and overstable. Just pushed a little bit inside, and that's going to be tough. Paul Ulibarri marking from the other side of the bunker. Jump putt. Bang. 3-piece save. Great putt from Paul Ulibarri. And he definitely does not have a problem with uphill putts. He tends to put a little bit more height on his putts than some of the other players he's competing against. Not a problem there. Nate kind of looked like he wanted to lay up in a headwind. You definitely don't want that disc to lift over the basket and fly into the OB bunker and take an extra stroke. And Steve Rico for 2. Center chain. Beautiful putt. It's going to be a 2 for Steve Rico and 3s all around for the rest of the card. And let's go to another par 4. Hole 6. 699 feet. Another one of the 9 par 4s on this course. And some of them very tough, some of them a little more scoreable. This is one that the guys can get to in 3. It's only, like I said, only 699 feet. There's not too much out of bounds unless you sort of saw off your shot. The right side off the fairway is completely safe. But the guys were going to want to try to access the pin from the left side of the fairway. You'll see a flat spot about driver distance up the fairway that they're going to try to get to in order to have a good access to the pin, which is protected by a tree on the right. And Steve's just a little bit short of that flat spot, but that's the half of the fairway you want to play to. And it's worth pointing out that that's a feature of playing on golf courses that I personally really like to see, and I hope that some of y'all do too, that whereas when most of the time we're playing disc golf courses, you're mainly looking for a drive, and then you just need to get inside the circle on one side or the other, and then you have a putt. When you're playing on a golf course, when you build these disc golf tracks, you need to pay attention, just like golfers do, of what side of the fairway do you want your disc to land on? What's your approach angle to the green? When the grass is this short and it plays that fast, these are things you have to take into account that maybe you don't see at other traditional courses we play for NTs and majors. That's a lot of fun to watch. So Steve Rico is going to be the most left of everybody. He's going to go roller up the hill, going to try to get it to finish right, and it gets pushed over. That's more right than he wants it to be. These guys are going to try to be, you want to be on the right side of the pin looking uphill as opposed to a downhill putt that could really end up badly. And that's exactly what you want to do. Paul Ulibarri showing us how it's done right there. And Nate Doss. You can see the difference there as Nate has to throw a little bit more of an Anheuser to get the angle to the pin, and he just doesn't get it wide enough. So even though there's only one tree really guarding the basket, you can see the difference in the ease of the approach angles depending on what half of the fairway you're landing on. And it goes to show that you don't have to have 50 trees in a fairway to guard the pin. You just have to have a couple of well-placed ones. Doss with his 3rd shot. Nice little easy upshot. Steve Rico. A little bit of a tailwind on this uphill. And that was a great run. You have to think maybe no tailwind and it doesn't push the putter down, and that might have gone in. That was only inches away. Schusterick just missing that one. And Paul Ulibarri for 3. Great putt. Another unorthodox putting style that we see on the Pro Tour. Paul Ulibarri probably has the most pronounced Anheuser on his putts when he releases. And he's another one of those guys that when he gets that putter going, he can really score well. Also a very good golfer. So that kind of mental game that you have to translate to these kind of courses is right up his alley. And you're going to see some tap-ins right there. We're going to go to hole 7. Hole 7 is a much more reachable pin, 282 feet, but it is significantly uphill, so it's going to play longer than that. You're going to see these guys take drivers to this hole, even though it is under 300 feet, it plays much more than that. The OB bunker on the left, you can see the basket sitting just on the top of the hill, and it'll feed down to that bunker. You have to be very careful. And Ulibarri's taking one of the mini routes on this hole, challenging the trees right in front of him, but if you get it past there, the hyzer route is a very good play. Steve Rico's going to take that same route, looking for a little bit of skip over on the grass, even though it is thick grass. Another reason you have to play a faster disc when the green is slower. You've got to make sure it still can finish. Schusterick opting for another forehand really high and just out of the chains. Trying to get on SportsCenter, trying to be the next guy. Big shout out to ESPN giving us lots of love this year. Great shot from Will Schusterick. That should be no problem to drop in for birdie. Nate's a little bit inside and a beautiful kick out of that tree. You can't get too much better than that. Just a little bit short, little bit timid on the release. Missed the birdie putt. Now Steve Rico for 2. Again, short in the tailwind, 2 tailwind putts. That's a great video teaching lesson moment right there. A little bit higher in a headwind, a little bit higher in a tailwind, a little bit lower in a headwind. Make sure you're reading the wind and knowing how to putt and knowing the right situation that you're in. Steve Rico won't make that mistake too many times. He's a great putter. Tap in 2 for Schusterick after an almost ace. See the St. Jude flag flying proudly above the basket. Again, just want to take this moment again to give a shout out to the St. Jude organization, especially their regional office out here on the West Coast. They did such a phenomenal job, worked so very hard to get this event. The Bayonet Black Horse Golf Course, as y'all can see in the video, is absolutely gorgeous. And the PGA for putting it all together and really giving disc golf an opportunity to show what the community can do and to give back. What a fantastic cause, and I can say I hope that we do this event for many years to come. I can tell everybody had an amazing time at this event, and if you didn't get a chance to get out here, make sure you're here when it happens next year. Hole 8. This is what many consider to be the hardest hole on the course. It's 925 feet. It's a par 4. You can see the slope of the green, or slope of the fairway. It feeds right to left towards the OB. You do not want to be OB on this hole. This is a stroke and distance hole, so you will re-tee with a penalty if you're not in bounds. You can see these guys making extra sure they stay to the right side. And the big distance line, I learned, is actually trying to throw over that tree that these guys are going at. You want to throw a little flex shot over that tree so you have plenty of time for the disc to get to the ground as it starts to hyzer back left. And that was for not that great drives on this hole. This hole can really get into your mind. There were some big numbers taken on this hole all weekend by players of all skill levels. Nate's going to get a really nice flex shot out there. You can see the Monterey Peninsula in the background. Just gorgeous. And it's really awesome to see the full flight of these discs. Schusterick with the toughest lie of the group. Very soft sand and mulch right there. Could not get a run up safely. And you can see when you're playing downhill, the height control factor, that goes way left way quickly. But he will have a safer angle to the green, even though he is a little short. Ulibarri is a little bit right, but going to get a nice feed over. And that basket in the background is not the one we're playing to. We're playing to the one to the left. Steve Rico. Another very nice shot. Making up for some tee shots with some great second shots on this hole. And as you can see, at 925 feet, they still haven't made it to the pin. And this is a tough angle to the green that Nate's facing. You have to get over the bunker that protects the front side, and if you go long like that, he's most likely out of bounds on that cart path back there. So you have to watch how fast your disc comes in and at what angle so you don't skip out of bounds. And Schusterick looks to have a putt from there. He might be a little bit long. Forehand from Steve Rico. And that checked up very nicely. So 3 of the 4 players opting for forehand approaches to try to avoid what happened to Nate. They don't want it to go too far out of bounds. And a relatively safe putt for Will. Beautiful. Drops in. Weak side, but catches the tray and scoots right in. Nate just a little bit off. The wind probably kept him from getting into the basket. As you can see, it's coming straight towards the camera. And strong side stays in for Paul Ulibarri and Rico after a great upshot. Center pole, a little high, sticks it, no problem. Hole 9 coming up after Nate Doss with a nice little tap in. Should be nice and easy. After going to one of the hardest holes on the course designer tricks here. Now he's going to give you something you can reach. It is 476 feet, is a par 3, but it's downhill, and this is another one where you really have to watch the speed. You have to play through this line of trees that lines the golf fairway. You have to control the height, you have to control the skip. There's an OB bunker to the right of the pin guarding it, and that card path is, as always, will play on and beyond OB. And you're going to see some of these guys are actually going to take the wider route. Ulibarri's a little bit high on this one, but he's going to take the wider route instead of the straight at it in order to feed it over. So they're going to try to use the short grass to play the skip instead of going directly at it, and then it's a little easier to control the speed on your disc. Schusterick just a little bit deep right there. You can see he just catches the bunker. Just a little bit less power, and then I'll skip over the front edge of the bunker and just be parked. Steve Rico opting for the same route. And catches the rough. Catches the taller grass and doesn't get that skip. So it's a very fine line as to how you play this hole. And Nate's going to go a little bit more inside. And that's just an unfortunate kick right there. Going to leave it a little bit short. And the flag's moving right to left, even though not a whole lot. It was just enough to push him and make it a tester putt for par. Paul Ulibarri opting for a forehand, perhaps reading the wind and seeing. And he's a little bit long there. Easily gives him a look, but you can see just that little bit of wind not letting the disc get back to the ground when it needs to. And here's a run. Just short again from Steve Rico. And he's starting to wake up a little bit, coming to play. Schusterick leaves that a little bit outside for his 3P putt. He should take a bogey on hole 9. Nate for par. Little bit high, and you can see on these Mach X's, those links up top are a little bit stiffer. You have to make sure that you kind of get it in. If you're in that little top 20% of the chains on these baskets, they can reject it, as you just saw happen to Nate Doss right there. And these should be some tap-ins, and we're halfway home. Will Schusterick comes in at a 29, 2 under par for the front 9. Ulibarri on fire, 26, 5 under, making moves right now. Steve Rico with a 3 under, 28. And Nate Doss struggling a little bit. He's 5 over, shot 36 for the front 9. Don't worry, guys. We're only halfway home, and that means you still got half more of my voice to hear on this recording. So keep it locked. Memorial Day weekend, St. Jude, Charity Invitational, the inaugural event. What a great cause. What a great tournament. What a great course. And some fantastic golf is still to come. I promise you. Stay tuned. It's SpinTV.